Utah's picked up a couple of commitments in the last day or so. And since we're going to do the kind of the schedule thing coming up in our next segment, I thought we'd throw that one by as well. Steve Bartle, the Bartle Portal, right here on the Bill Riley Show, here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700. And, of course, officially on the Chiefs bandwagon right now for at least this weekend at the Super Bowl. Are you still entertaining visits, Steve? Are you still entertaining? What are you doing? I mean, how close are we to getting you flipped from San Diego to Kansas City?
Well, we're in an interesting situation here, Bill. It's mock draft season, and so I am fully engulfed in mock drafts everywhere and taking in as much mock draft content as I can. And so I am eating it up because the Chargers have the 6th pick, and that pick will determine my future fanhood. So, yes, I have maybe taken a step back from full-fledged Chargers dumb, but, you know, it's a possibility they get me back with the right number 6 pick.
So what are we looking at? Offensive linemen? What will sway you to stay a Charger fan? Do you need a quarterback for that to happen? Give me in these mocks the thing that gets Steve Bartle all excited.
The thing that gets Steve Bartle all excited in these mock drafts is seeing linebacker safety Isaiah Simmons at number 6 for the Chargers. Teaming him up with Derwin James and Nasir Adderley, that's a tremendous trio of safety linebacker types because that's what the Chargers would need in order to compete against your boy Mahomes and against the Raiders and the Broncos. Maybe not the Broncos because they don't have much offensively, but definitely the Chiefs. So if they pick Isaiah Simmons, if that's the guy, I think I'll reaffirm my commitment to the Chargers.
And if they take like a guard?
Well, then, you know, anything's up for grabs there, Bill. I may even consider taking on the Jets. We'll see. We'll see.
Let me just say this right now, Bartle. If you wait too long, we're going to move along from you. Because you may be a Super Bowl champion, and this is a team that's set up not, you know, your Chargers can take Isaiah Simmons, but if Tyrod Taylor's your quarterback and you don't have a direction that way, it may not matter. So I'm just saying this right now as a friend and as somebody who would like to bring you on our team. Morgan Scalley and I are not going to hold this scholarship open for you for months. In fact, you may only have until like Sunday or Monday, because if there's like a Super Bowl celebratory parade coming and you've not made your mind up by then, we just may move along and invite somebody else to join Chiefs Kingdom.
You know, that's
just so you know, I'm going to play I'm putting all my cards out there on the table for you. I mean, as much as we would love you to be part of our kingdom, the Chiefs Kingdom, and want Steve Bartle to be on our team, you have to understand that we have our priorities much like you have your priorities. So I'm just putting that all out there to you.
Perfect. I fully understand, and I appreciate you letting me know where I stand and where things stand amongst my fandom.
I'm looking at a mock draft right now that has the Chargers taking Justin Herbert with the number 6 pick and has the Chiefs taking J.K. Dobbins with the 31st pick of the first round. So another weapon for Patrick Mahomes.
That's pretty scary. Yeah, that's pretty scary.
Okay. Just putting it out there. All right, Steve Bartle with us from utezone.com. So the Utes picked up a couple of commitments, not for 2020, but for 2021. Is that right, the last couple of days?
No, they've all been 2020 guys. So they're filling out their final spots of the 2020 class. These are now kind of some special situations with each of the commits. So they picked up 3 commitments.
Let's start with Fabian Marks.
Yeah, so Fabian Marks committed late last night. He's a cornerback out of Texas. 2020 kid is 6 foot, 175. Has tremendous speed. He's a 21.6, 200-meter guy, that's pretty good speed. That's what you want out of your cornerbacks. That's adequate in terms of his athleticism. When you put on the tape, you see it too, and that's the thing that is most encouraging about his athleticism is that it translates to the field. So he's quick, he's agile, just has the type of traits that Utah can mold and turn into a cornerback down the road. He's got some ways to go. He's got a ways to go in terms of his technique and his physicality and stuff. He plays with a good tenacity. He'll hit guys when the opportunity is there, but he's definitely got to add some weight to his frame. But this is a good late addition for this 2020 class.
So a bit of a project.
Yeah, a little bit. Not a tremendous project. Like, you can see the traits there when he's playing cornerback. But, yeah, he definitely is a guy that needs some time in the program before, he's going to be competing for time on the field.
3-star kid out of Richmond, Texas, and had offers from, Kansas, Hawaii, Baylor, some of the others that were interested in him?
Yep. And maybe the most encouraging thing about it is he has two older brothers that actually both of them played at Alabama. So one played receiver for Alabama, the other played defensive back for Alabama. So athleticism, football runs in the family genes, which is good. So it's a very good pickup for Utah late in the game.
So tell me a little bit about Keyon Vasa.
Yeah, so he committed 2 days ago. He's a defensive tackle out of Mission Viejo. His father, Sean Tanavasa, played at Utah back in the early 2000s. So family connections, family ties. He's always been considered a Utah lean because of the family connection. But Keyon is a tremendous talent. He's going to serve a mission, so he's not going to join the program out of high school. He's going to go directly on a mission. But a good physical frame at 6'4", 275 pounds. He played with a couple of other defensive linemen on that Mission Viejo front that allowed each of them to kind of succeed and put up some good numbers this past season. So he's a tenacious guy in the trenches, good frame. He'll be able to add on 20, 30 more pounds, and he'll be a disruptive force, in this defensive line in a couple of years. So that's a good pickup. Utah was always considered the leader for him, like I mentioned, and the fact that they closed the deal this late in the game is just exactly what they needed to do. So that was a key pickup. He's gonna serve his mission, and then he'll be back in 2 years. He'll be a part of the 2022 class.
So it kind of sounds like he was down to Oregon State, UCLA, and Utah?
Mm-hmm. Yep, those three were the primary schools that he was considering, and UCLA was the hometown school. They were just up the road from him, and they made a very late push to get in the game with him. But Utah just has all the momentum with defensive linemen right now in the 2020 class.
Steve Bartle's our guest from UteZone.com. 24/7 Sports Family is where you'll find them. They've got write-ups on both Sandhya Marks and Keyon Tanavasa that are up at UteZone right now. If you've not subscribed, now's a good time to do it, especially with National Signing Day coming up here. The big final National Signing Day, though, it sounds like Utah's got a few names. They're not going to be as active as they've been in years gone by, but what else do you know right now?
Yeah, they also, on Sunday, Utah picked up another commitment just because of the Kobe Bryant situation in the news, and that dominated the headlines.
Right.
It flew under the radar. So Utah picked up a commitment from a quarterback, Cooper Justice. He's kind of in a special scholarship situation. So don't expect him to sign this Wednesday, but he'll likely show up for fall camp and be ready to go. But he's a 6'6", 230-pound quarterback. He's a lefty. He's got good traits. He's definitely a project, but considering the scholarship situation, it's about as good as they could do at quarterback. So keep him in mind, Cooper Justice. Don't be surprised if he does not sign on Wednesday, but just shows up. And then they'll have a mystery visitor. I can't share who it is, but there will be a mystery visitor this weekend. And according to sources, as long as everything goes well, as long as they check the boxes on their official visit, I expect this mystery visitor to be a guy that ends up at Utah. So
is this a high school mystery visitor or a transfer mystery visitor?
It is a junior college mystery visitor. So junior college mystery visitor. We'll see what happens this weekend. But I like his tape. He's got some good tools to work with. It would be at a position of need, so that's a good thing. But that's all I can share, Bill. I have to respect my sources' wishes. That's all I can share right now. But if they add him, if he announces his commitment this weekend, it's a good pickup.
All right, we'll keep an eye out. Follow him on Twitter. It's not at the Bartle Portal, but you can find him on Twitter, Steve Bartle. And, of course, you can also find him at utezone.com. Back to Justice. You and I had talked about him before. Utah was about the only big school in on this kid, but there's something that Andy Ludwig likes about this kid because Utah's been on him for a while, right?
Yeah. This wasn't just a late game scramble to get a quarterback in the class. Andy Ludwig actually met him and evaluated him back in the summer at a camp, and they remained in communication throughout the fall. And then, as things started to pick up late in the game in November, Utah started to contact him a little bit more. And, they've evaluated him thoroughly. It's not just evaluating tape, but, they called coaches and people around Cooper Justice. And so they've put in a lot of work, and they feel that, he's got some good tools to work with. When you watch his tape, his throwing motion and mechanics are consistent. He's a baseball pitcher as well that is just now turning his focus to football, entirely to football. So he's got some good tools, some good traits that can be molded. And this is the type of kid that, you bring him in and you don't have to worry about him looking to transfer elsewhere because he's not playing early. This is a guy that is strictly a depth piece, for your scout team and early on in his career. He'll be, there's a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities between he and Drew Lisk, and I think that's probably the best expectation to set for Cooper Justice in terms of what he can be. We'll see how Andy Ludwig's influence in coaching can impact Cooper Justice over time, but I think, he's a guy with some good traits, some good tools to work with, but he's got a lot of work to do.
Well, Utah's pretty set, at least for the next 3 years at quarterback, you would figure, with Bentley and rising and then rising and then whatever else they can bring in. If this kid's a little bit of a project, he's got time. He can be on the third or the fourth string behind whomever and develop his skills a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the thinking there is, you've got Jake Bentley this year. You have Cam Rising, who's been here a year. So you've got good depth, in the first and second string. And, if you're on your third string quarterback, like, yes, Utah got beat by the USC third string quarterback, but that was just a crazy situation. And so if you're on your third string quarterback, most programs, 90%, 95% of college football programs, if they are forced to play their third string quarterback, it's going to be tough. So, Utah's in a good spot with their quarterback depth with the two that they have at the top with Bentley and Rising. And they feel comfortable with what they have moving forward. And with the transfer portal, it's kind of changed how you have to manage the quarterback position specifically because guys are so focused and centered on playing early. So it's become, it was already a gentle, fragile position in terms of playing time and managing it. Now with the transfer portal, it's magnified that even more. So I like what they've done with the quarterback room. They've upped the talent and, improved the depth there.
All right, one more question, then one quick guess from you. Are you expecting a transfer or two in the portal to join Utah over the next month or two or three?
That's going to be interesting. I wouldn't say over the next month or two, but I would say, between now and the start of fall camp, there may be a transfer that makes his way to Utah. I know that they've contacted a lot of players. I know that much.
Right.
And so it's just a matter of finding the right fit, finding the right opportunity. And also one thing to keep in mind is, players have to be able to, there has to be a graduate program for players to transfer. And so that's something to consider, that it's not just, he's a linebacker, Utah should add him. There's an added factor in the transfer because there are academic requirements for these transfers. And so that's something to consider that, you don't have to worry so much about with, junior college and high school guys, is that there does have to be a graduate program that they can transition to, when they transfer like this. So that's something just to keep in mind. It doesn't impact or influence a lot of, it doesn't pop up a lot, but it is something to consider. So, I think that they'll be a little active, but it's not going to be like it was last year where they brought in 7 or 8, however many they brought in last year.
All right, before I let you go, I know you're like me. You geeked out when the schedule came out, and you were looking at it and poring over it. It's way too early to have a good feel for it, but I kind of did a little best case, worst case scenario I'm going to unveil. As you look at Utah's 2020 football schedule and look at what they've got coming in and all the holes they have to fill and what the schedule is for the regular season, give me your best case scenario, your worst case scenario record-wise for Utah next year.
Yeah, I can see best case being 9-3 and worst case being 6-6. I think with the defensive issue, like the defensive holes, Utah is going to take a big step back in terms of what they were this past year. But with Morgan Scalley and Whittingham and with the coaches that they have at each position, it won't step back too far, but it's going to be enough for other programs that are adding talent and getting better. Arizona State, UCLA will see what they can do. USC, they're always going to be talented. So I can see it where, the defense just kind of doesn't make the plays that we're accustomed to them making just because of youth and inexperience, which could lead to some losses. So I see 9-3 as the best case scenario and 6-6 as the floor.
I went just a notch up from that. I said 7-5 worst case and 10-2 absolute best case. I just don't think the league's great, and I don't think the teams that Utah's I don't think there's a great team on Utah's schedule next year. I think USC is going to be the most talented team, but they don't have Oregon.
Yeah.
They don't have Stanford. Washington, you've got them at home, though. I'm not sure how good they are. Washington State doesn't have a quarterback, and they've got a brand-new head coach. I think Arizona State will be good, and you've got to play them down there. I think Colorado will be improved, but I don't see a great team on their schedule, Bartle. I think USC could be, but they have to prove that. I think they've got great talent. I don't know that they've got great culture. So I said best case, and it's a pretty high ceiling, but 10-2. But I think worst case 7-5, and I would say probably likely a 9-3 season.
Yeah, that's fair. I think most likely is 8-4, just because the schedule. There isn't a great team on their schedule, but it's so weird how similar Utah is now compared to what Washington was 2 years ago and this past season. There's a lot of parallels between the programs, and